Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the landing strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the landing strip as the Winnipeg Jets have their first win in 5 games here. They beat the loaded Nashville Predators. What a big accomplishment here on this night. We got scoring through our middle 6. Is this the turning point? We're going to dive into all of it. Mikey, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Man, I think there's only one way to express how I'm doing and how to celebrate a win as monumental as that. Let's hit it. Had to bring it back for this. That was a must-win game. You know, the Jets really came out and showed us that they're really in it now. So I'm wow, what a game.
Yeah, it was nice to see. 45 seconds in, 47, whatever it was.
Yep.
The Winnipeg Jets get on the board. Mark Scheifele with the shot coming up from a Dylan Sandberg stretch, and Gabe Vilardi smashes it home. Great to have a lead. It's been a while. All 4 games, they don't get the first goal. So that was a good omen early.
Yep.
And you knew going in, if you've watched Justice Anunen play hockey in the crease these days, you knew that there was a good chance we might break that slump today. 311 minutes later. 311 minutes and some change. Thank you to the Sportsnet broadcast.
Yep.
We get a goal from a depth player, and it's the 4th leading scorer of forwards, Nino Niederreiter, in a revenge game.
Revenge.
Off a great stretch pass from Schenner, who I think we're going to have the most bipolar conversation on Luke Schen's game today. Quite the interesting roller coaster. A couple highs,
Yep.
a lot of lows, but the highs are going to stand out the most at the end of the day here.
Yep.
Cole Perfetti, after getting a million chances of late and missing one early here, where you just saw the frustration on his face, breaks through and then almost scores a second one late in this game, goes double bar. Mikey, how are you feeling tonight leaving this Winnipeg Jets hockey game? What is your big takeaway outside of Squirtle? What's the big takeaway here?
You know, this was exactly the type of game I think you expected when you kind of look at what the 2 rosters were going to be. This wasn't the 2017 Nashville Predators versus 2017, Winnipeg Jets, when you had some real free flow in hockey back and forth, some high octane offense. This was a kind of slow, plodding, grin and bear it type of game. Nashville is the worst team over the last month in the National Hockey League, the Jets being the 2nd worst team. So you weren't really expecting a barn burner in that aspect tonight. And, that wasn't disappointing at least. They came away with the win. That part is great. They got the points. Woo-hoo. I've got some issues, though, with the process of how we got here tonight. Not only the play on the ice, maybe some lineup decisions that I think we're going to talk about. So overall, it's weird. Yesterday we had a loss. I came out of it finding some optimism a little bit in a few certain points. Tonight we've got a win and 2 points, and I came out of it feeling a little bit scummy, like I need a shower.
So what you're telling me is this one is not giving you the hopes that they're coming out of this slumber after the Nashville Predators game.
No, I'm unfortunately not saying that this was the get right game. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong in this aspect. You've got Nino Niederreiter, where half the league is a revenge game for the guy, which is wonderful for us. It's absolutely fantastic that every second game is a revenge game, because he seems to deliver in all of them. I'd love to go back and just take a look, because he's got that extra kick there. So that was great. And Cole Perfetti, the other part of it is the only difference between today's game and yesterday's game is that one of those happened to trickle in, Whereas, he's been playing this way for a few games now. So I'm real happy that he at least gets the monkey off his back. Should have had two with another one. Just, that ping sound must haunt him in his dreams. So, little things like that. Great. It's just, oh man. Yeah. I'm not ready to say that they're over the hump, that they've put the problems behind them. Nashville is easy pickings right now. It's a bad team, the worst in the National Hockey League right now. And the Jets barely scrape by.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it felt like a team that took the foot off the gas once they got that third goal and went into sit-back mode. And it's not, especially with the D talent we have, but it very rarely works out for teams when you sit on your heels and let the other team begin to gain momentum, begin to put you on your heels, playing in your zone more often, getting chances. Like that game felt like Nashville was going to score a goal before the end of the second to make 100%. It a 2-goal game with the push that they had after the third goal from Winnipeg. And then early on in that third, probably for the first, 12 minutes of it,
yep.
It really felt like Nashville was pushing the pace until the Jets get that one chance where Luke Schenn blasts one through and Kyle Connor gets the tip to really put this game away tonight.
The word blast
but it
is
did
generous.
Feel like it. What's that?
The word blast is generous.
Yeah, that looked like a bit of a bomb. No, how fast was it?
That was a trickler. I've seen old men pee faster than that, but that's all right.
So the high tip from Kyle Connor puts this one to bed, but it did feel like this game was teetering on Nashville comeback there. I think Eric Comrie, I think that was a very much needed game from him to get some confidence rolling, where I thought he had to come up pretty big. You think of the Yossi post-to-post save when Yossi beats Schenn wide as one play. The Evangelista goal you might want back, given it's from the goal line. Another tough read from Fiverr. Like I said, a really polarizing game there from that guy. But I think Eric Comrie made some big saves when he needed to make them, and this team's going to need him playing at roughly an average level, which I think would be fair to say that was what it looks like. It's an interesting one. You gotta feel good to get off the schneid, and this might be one of those you take a win and you hope to build off of it. And if there's any point in the schedule where it feels like if there's going to be a get right game moment, it feels like it has to be right now in this part of the schedule.
Yep.
So it was a 50-50 game versus Nashville, and if you look what's around the corner, you have Buffalo, Montreal, Buffalo. I almost think you got to win 2 out of those 3 games to start feeling good about how you're leaving this road trip, how you're leaving this stretch of games, because after that you're looking at Edmonton, Dallas, Boston, Washington, Ottawa, the Blues in there, and then Colorado, Utah, all before Christmas.
Yep.
If you want to take the optimistic side that this was a get-right game and the depth scoring will continue to parlay, and it wasn't just a 50-50 hockey game against a real bad Preds team, which is what I kind of saw, it's got to come in these next 3 games. They really got to turn this into something over these next 3 games, or this thing is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the next 3 games need to look a hell of a lot more like 2024 than 2025. It has to resemble what they were doing last year. They can't have these next 3 games look so rough the way that they have been up to this point. And I think that's what they're hoping for here, right? They've kind of gone back to the more comfortable old shoe version of the lineup, and they're hoping that's gonna, spark things and get them going. I'm just worried that today's game is just going to kind of confirm a little bit of their bias in a bad way, and it's going to reinforce the idea that everything is fine, leave the lineup alone, and it'll get right on its own. And I'm not sure if this year's group is able to do that as much as last year, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will definitely have to see. Matt Rothman says, I very much hope it's the turning point, but I still got to see if they can do this against a better, younger team and not Nashville, who we know is – the Nashville Predators are kind of where the Winnipeg Jets were in the last year of Blake Wheeler, where everybody in the league knew that they were a mess. And the Preds room and top down in that organization is a bit of a mess. So, hey, I'm glad we cleared that hurdle, but it is definitely going to take a bit more before I start buying into what we just watched, because I don't think for a team that at some point is going to need to go on a run here, I don't think you go into this game and it looks as close as it did for a team that is that bad at the end of the day. I do got a comment, though. The chat's pointing out we're all going to act like Mikey didn't just say he watches old men pee. Okay, then. And they want to know, why are you watching old guys pee, Mikey?
Hey, what? You've never been in a weird bathroom out at the pub or something? Come on now.
Hey, I would have went to, you've never been to the gym in years or what?
Yeah, that too. They let it fly at the gym.
Been to a gym.
I just think of the old drunk men at the pub usually.
I just had to make sure to clear that one up for the chat. So, leaving yesterday's game, I know you want to get to it. I think I want to get to it. I had seen someone in the chat already had asked. We see one change coming out of yesterday's game. We see Elias Salmonson come out of the lineup, Luke Schenn come into the lineup, and all the lines stay the same from how they ended yesterday's game. What did you feel? How do you feel about it now, about the Winnipeg Jets' decision to send the message by sitting Elias Salmonson, bringing in Luke Schenn, and changing nothing else?
You know, I listened to Scott Arniel's post-game comments after we were done the show yesterday, and when he was asked why the change of Salo moving up to the top pairing with Josh Morrissey, he said it wasn't so much about Salo moving up, it was to send a message to players who maybe weren't ready to start the game, i.e., a message to Dylan DeMello to, move him down. And as soon as he said that, I went, oh, okay, so Salo's coming out tomorrow. It wasn't about moving him up. It wasn't about getting him an opportunity or the minutes or wanting to see what that. No, it was just about, hey, I'm mad at ex-veteran player, so you go play up on that top pairing. And I assumed it was going to be for Neil Pionk. I never thought we were going to be going to offensive juggernaut Luke Schenn. But hey, guess that's why I'm sitting at home and he's behind the bench. He knew that that's what needed to happen tonight. We needed the offensive spark of Luke Big Rig Schenn back there. So, yeah, I was not thrilled. I'm going to be honest. You've got a kid that's building on each of those first two games. I thought he improved in both of those games from game to game. He did well with the increased minutes, with the increased responsibility. I didn't think he needed to come out. I know Arniel in the pregame today said they didn't want to burn him out. They didn't want to tire him. He's a young guy who was at the peak of his physical conditioning. I think he would have been okay playing a second hockey game today. I think it was more about, just they wanted to get Luke Schenn in for whatever reason, whether it was getting him in front of family, as somebody in the chat suggested, whether it's just because you wanted to send a message and make sure the guys know that we're going to take the kids out if you're not playing well. I don't know what message that sends. You'll have to explain that one to me a little bit better. I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest, even though Luke Schenn does come through tonight, big props on those points. I didn't like the idea of Salo coming out for Schenn, and even with the win, I'm still not thrilled about it.
Yeah, this is a very interesting Luke Schenn game. 2 primary assists, one with that slap shot that Kyle Connor tips, one with a great cross-ice feed to Nino Niederreiter while he's streaking there. But goal number 1 happens because he doesn't clear a puck. Nashville's top line hems him and Stanley in. Stanley ends up hooking Forsberg when he makes a play to the net, and the Preds immediately score on that power play. The second goal, he takes a swing at a puck that's rimmed the short side of the crease. Evangelista sneaks behind him, and he's nowhere to be found. Backhand top shelf. Roman Josi beats him for a great look. Nashville's first real opportunity of this game comes off a Luke Schenn turnover. It was one of those games where it was all over the place, and I do see people talking about the idea that, it's a former team and his family could be at that game. We're talking about a 36, 37-year-old journeyman NHL player that's been in those situations time and time again in his career. Like, are we serious about looking at it that way when it comes to Luke Schenn over Elias Salmonson? I've been the guy, and I quipped at you the other day. I've been the guy defending Scotty Arniel so far this year. I think when you pair his post-game comments yesterday and the comment you're talking about, which seems to be about Dylan DeMello, maybe it was about Dylan Sandberg, who I want to have a bit of a conversation about here after I finish this thought. Instead of sending a message to a vet with some gravitas or that you're frustrated with after a loss where you get 14 shots on goal, you get steamrolled by Carolina, you're pissed at your vets and snap in the media after, what your actions do is show the complete opposite. The big move to show that you're pissed at this team is to go right back to everybody and pull out the kid for the vet. I think this was a missed opportunity to send a message, and I found it was interesting that Kevin Biesca in the intermission conversation was having a similar conversation around this when it comes to Craig Berube in Toronto. And he was talking about how, with how much players make these days, how much more valuable they are to teams. A coach's only motivational tool available is using ice time to create leverage and try to motivate a player or to send a message or to create accountability. And what Bieksa had said was, when you simply pull out the same guys at a bottom of the lineup, or you pull out a kid for a vet, or you pull out, in his case, it was like Steven Lorentz in Toronto, and you just go to that tool. Guess what? You're not sending a message to anybody else in that lineup. There's no repercussions for that. And I just think, yes, they got a win today. Yes, Luke Schenn contributes in that win with 2 primary assists. But if you look at the process of it and how a team culture is built, how accountability happens, I think this was a missed opportunity after Scott Arniel showed his frustration on a 4-game losing streak against the worst team in the NHL to send a bit of a message to this lineup in a different way. Now they get the W. You could make the case there. I just think his words now, when he is angry, mean a bit less in the media, because are you really worried about any repercussions from it? I think this was a missed opportunity from the coaching staff, and I've been defending Scotty quite a bit. I think it's the easy way out. It's pretty cowardly after you make a statement like that. I'll stand by that despite the win. I did not like that decision after how the last 24 hours played out.
Yeah, it feels like the one parent going, "You wait till Dad gets home. Like, Luke Schenn's gonna be in the lineup, and then you're all gonna see." Like, I don't quite understand what the message is that you're sending by taking out Elias Salmonson and putting in Luke Schenn, if you're trying to send a message that way, or if it's literally just because, hey, it's a veteran guy and I want him to play in front of his friends and family, then sure, that's, that can be the reason, I guess. I'm not thrilled about either one, to be honest. I think they're both wrong choices. If you're, one, not only just trying to win today, and 2, you're trying to build, a winning culture, and you're trying to develop a talent, I think you lose on all 3 of those aspects.
Yeah, and this is where winning a 50-50 game against Nashville it's going to be confirmation bias for them, that they got to stick to the formula that they refuse to move away from. And I just think it's going to lead to bumpier roads ahead here. But this is the road that they want to travel. As Ryan Thiessen puts it, this ideology that we need to as many vets in the lineup as possible and prioritizing experience over on-ice skill is not how you win hockey games in the NHL. And as Pomerlein puts it, he called out DeMello last night, and then the next game he pulled Salo out and puts DeMello back on the top pairing. There is no message sent there. And as Gilbert Marion says, Arniel has the formula now. Salo will be demoted. And that's just, we know that's where things are going to go.
Yeah.
Honestly, 71 says, with today's player, they will just ask for a trade, sitting top players. If you are so scared that you cannot manipulate anything in a lineup, what are you doing even coaching at this point?
If I'm looking back at last season as well, Scott Arniel doesn't, it just kind of came to me as I was reading Pomerlein's comment. Scott Arniel doesn't send messages with the lineup itself. Period. He doesn't. We've seen that. It's only going to happen in game. You'll see a few adjustments here or there when he wants to adjust, quote unquote, some minutes for somebody because he's trying to, somebody wasn't going or wants to, somebody wasn't ready to play, whatever it is. But he goes right back to the quote unquote standard lineup the next game. And that's kind of what I think we saw again here. I don't think there was a message trying to be sent with the Salo being taken out. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this was just always probably the plan. Luke Schenn was probably always scheduled to play in this game. If Pionk had been not hurt up to this point, it'd probably been Miller that would have come out, and Schenn would have played on the bottom pairing with Stanley. Just kind of working it out in my head right now, I think that's probably correct.
And it's this type of process that's going to lead to this thing being over by the time Connor Hellebuyck gets back, unless they could parlay some confidence into some better hockey, because this was a tough game.
Yep.
You got to feel good about the scoring that comes. You get it from each line of the lineup. Starts again from the top line, who I thought were creating right from minute one in this game. I thought they were going to end up scoring another one into the empty net. I was surprised how long it took the Jets to be able to cash in on that empty net today. Yep.
But also shout out for them to going to empty net 4.5 minutes left in the game. I respect the fuck out of that. It's a good call.
Yeah, no, and they had some chances. Nino Niederreiter gets 2 in this one. The first goal, obviously getting that lane and getting up to speed, just great to see that he still has that in the bag a little bit. I think it's safe to wonder with his game at times, especially with how grindy it's gotten with the Adam Lowry pairing, obviously. But to see him have that breakaway speed and break from a defender like that was great to see. A great shot. But all of this is so couched for me that it's Nashville, and it was Justice and Noonan in net. On the Cole Perfetti goal, actually, I wanted to say this about the Adam Lowry line. One thing I thought they were successful with, I was talking about on Carolina, I thought the forecheck was a bit of a difference maker, and it was my From Financial face-off. I thought the Adam Lowry and Nino Niederreiter group with IFL were a lot better in that regard today. And then on the Cole Perfetti goal, John Taves is actually the first one in on the forecheck. He pokes it over to Vlad, who's supporting on the other side of the ice, who quickly goes low to high to Cole Perfetti. So I thought the Jets did a better job today being able to create off of their own hustle when you saw it. And I think a lot of their trouble came, especially after the 3-0 lead, a lot of the trouble came from sitting back and just trying to hold a lead by any means necessary when you just don't have the defensive talent to do so.
Yep, 100%.
Quickly, I want to touch on Dylan Sandberg. Got a text from our boy Ozzy from Financial. And I think there's some validity to what he's saying. And something I've pushed against prior, but coming off his injury, has not been the hottest on the back end. Not to the standard we're used to. I think he's missing Neil Pionk a little bit. Can't believe I'm saying it. But when we see how he's played with both Luke Schenn and Elias Salmonson and Dylan DeMello, and this is a part of his game we've talked about developing, but I think it's kind of shown its ugly head side of it a little bit more. It feels like he's been more puck dominant and hasn't been as great at moving it, which we know is what he tends to pass off to for Neil Pionk in that role. I thought today you saw him, for better or worse, moving the puck over for Luke Schenn to do a lot of the puck movement on this night. I think when he was with Salo, you were seeing him try and be that guy. Is Dylan Sandberg still fighting through it, coming off injury, and is he missing his longtime partner in Neil Pionk right now?
Yeah, he's definitely still fighting through it, coming back. We haven't seen anywhere near the same level of play that he was so consistent with last year. The thing with Dylan Sandberg is it's not that there are, crazy highs and then there are some lows and, it's a roller coaster. He's generally fairly steady, fairly consistent at a high level. And we just haven't seen him catch back up to that yet. So I think he's just still, working it out off of the injury, getting his speed back, getting his timing back. It's interesting that you say that he's missing Neil Pionk. He has been a little more prone to wanting to pass off that responsibility, right, to that partner. And you kind of still see the ghost of that even when Pionk's not out there right now. When he went without Pionk last year for an extended period of time, we saw him actually start trying to do those things himself to varying degrees of success. I wonder if it's going to take some time again, just because while he's working on, I think, starting to feel better, you kind of rely on old habits, right? You kind of rely on what you're most comfortable with. So he may still be kind of looking for that, quick outlet to whoever the partner is for them to take care of the pass out while he's still trying to get himself back up to speed. I wonder if a fully healed, mid-season Dylan Sandberg wouldn't be a little bit more willing to try it out, but we'll see how that plays the next little bit.
As Gilbert Marion says, like the song, they complete each other. I thought that was a great point from Ozzy, and I wanted to make sure to shout it out here because I thought we saw more of it today, despite I think you're going to see a lot of gloating in the market about Luke Schenn's 2-point night. I thought that the Sandberg pairing got real hemmed in a lot of this night, and a lot of it came off the stick of Luke Schenn. So I'm very curious to see how this market handles Luke Schenn's game, because I watched a player that I'm not betting on the puck luck continuing that way. Based on what we saw, I think a lot more of it went the other way on them.
Yep. And
I would very much appreciate if we can get some Elias Salmonson runway, which I don't believe is happening at this stage.
Yeah, I have a real bad feeling that as soon as Pionk is dressed again, that Salomonson's back on the Moose on that top pairing there. So it's strictly as Lambert said, there's not a lot of room for guys unless an injury happens.
Speaking of the Predators, so they are a mess, and they are shopping guys, and one guy that doesn't have a no trade clause I thought looked pretty good on this night. Ryan O'Reilly still has some game, and if you start to look at if you're making a run in this thing, and we'll see where that kind of lies over the next few weeks. But let's put ourselves in that position that you're still trying to make a run at this thing. How do you feel about a Mark Scheifele, Ryan O'Reilly, Adam Lowry, top 3 center mix? Would you think of Ryan O'Reilly tonight, and what would you be willing to give up if you are interested in such a player?
Well, first of all, it would be a Mark Scheifele, Ryan O'Reilly, Jonathan Taves top 3 mix. He's the second line center currently. Didn't you know? You must not have known. That's all right. I'll fill you in there. Just kidding. Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly looked great again tonight. It's kind of crazy that he's been able to keep going at such a high pace for so long. Every year it seems like we kind of look and go, hey, Ryan O'Reilly would be a great ad at the deadline. He's kind of perennially that guy. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I'd happily add ROR. He'd fit perfectly there. He's got I think 2 more or 3 more years left on the contract. So you're going to get, right in the middle of this run that the Jets hopefully are supposed to be in a window for. I'm curious what cost to acquire is going to be. If there's going to be a little bit of a bidding war that ends up happening if they make him widely available, which could drive up the price. Where do you think the starting market should be for ROR?
I think at this stage, like, his game is declining a little bit from where he was at the peak. Like, he's not the guy that was the Conn Smythe on that run in 2019.
Yeah.
But I think he's still comfortably a very good 2 to 3 center in this league. And when you're kind of in the jet spot, you have one of those in Adam Lowry. So you're almost trying to bet on 2 higher level 3s or lower level 2s rather than not having a guy there. I thought he stood out today, especially with like puck transporting through the neutral zone, which I think is a skill this team could use some. I think he's obviously not the quickest guy anymore, but I thought he still was able to skate pretty well for that Nashville team. And what I like about him is he's someone that when he tries to create or when he's trying to shoot himself, he gets to the danger areas of the ice, gets to the slot. He has that size. He's not scared. And at $4.5 million, you're only paying him to be a third line center, but realistically, he's probably your 2.
Yep.
I think it's a first-round pick and some type of prospect, depending on what prospects out there Nashville's most interested in, but I'd imagine that's where that falls. And he was just someone that's the skill set stood out to me as someone I thought was pretty dangerous at creating for Nashville and could give you a pretty interesting look up the middle 6 of this center group here.
So yeah, it's this year and next year at 4.5. So that's a real nice spot for the Jets. They'll get 2C minutes out of him at a 3C price. not too shabby. And like you said, the foot speed isn't what it was, but he's still got more than enough, especially with working with the right wingers, right? So, yeah, that's not too bad. I like Gilbert Marion's. What do you think about Gilbert Marion's suggestion of Lambert in a second? Does that get it done or not enough?
I would do that quick. I don't think it gets it done.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be quite enough.
In which Bodie Clegg says, and he's still slow and old. Do we really want to age more, Nick? And Ryan Thiessen says, I like ROR, but his age and foot speed concerns me, considering where this team is at and what they need. And Choices TK says ROR would be Brock Nelson 2.0 for Chevy to be used as leverage from another team. Though he doesn't have a no trade clause, I'm curious how Barry Trotz plays that. I see the concern. I'm talking from the perspective of if this team finds their way back into things. It's not the pathway I'm looking at going, especially with this year's first and still 3 to 5 weeks without Connor Hellebuck. But if this team finds themselves in a position to buy, I would be all over it. Like at this point, this org is committed to this core, and the fall off's coming. At least Ryan O'Reilly gives you a real chance. That's going to be the best second C they've traded for since Stastny.
Yeah,
and you get him for another year. It's all collapsing at some point. If they find their way back in, I'd be totally cool with betting on ROR. I really would.
You still looking to go out and grab Jonathan Huberdeau?
It was never a big one of mine, but hey, I don't want it right now.
Not at the moment.
I'll tell you that. I want to continue seeing where this thing's developed before I take on a contract like that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was yeah. There's a very specific spot they have to be for me to be willing to do that one.
Yeah, for any kind of bigger ad like that, we're kind of on the assumption that the Jets have miraculously pulled out of the skid, have burned through the league until Connor Hellebuck's return, and are right back in if that's the case, sure, then we're definitely looking, add an ROR, add somebody big in that spot, spend that first round pick if you think that's the way to go. But the way
hold
things
it
are
till
going
Hellebuck's
right
back.
now, hold it. Yes, exactly my point. The way it's going right now, hold until Hellebuck is back. Let's see where we're at.
At Jelly DB 204 says we should be sellers and tanking this year. We take a step back to take 2 steps next season. I'm there. I'll be your unofficial tank commander. For that to happen, for that to reasonably happen, the non-Hellebuck stretch has to be really bad. So if you're not betting on today's game being the find yourself game, they might be in that position over the coming weeks. From what I saw today, I'm not quite convinced they're coming out of this to any notable level, and I think it'll be a rocky road, the rest of the Hellebuck thing. That's what's going to happen with 40 games left roughly when Hellebuck's back. Before the team even considers going down that path, it's going to have to be pretty ugly over the next 3 to 5 weeks. So I want to try and at least cover each different angle where this can go, because I'm very much in that camp. I think that's the best thing for them. And I think reaccumulating some of these assets, like the seconds they've lost. And the other side of it is the one nice thing going into the summer is this hasn't been a core level problem. You're getting 100+ point season pace out of Mark Scheifele. You've been getting a roughly 100-point pace out of Kyle Connor. You're getting a Norris level season out of Josh Morrissey. And before injury, Connor Hellebuck was once again a top 2 goaltender by the numbers in the NHL. It's been a depth problem. They're not locked into much of their depth, and you can retool the depth on the fly and retry this another way. So I do think a down season does not necessarily end where this is going. I think a high pick plus the idea that you could actually try a different method with the depth because you're not committed to everything gives them a chance to bounce back after one down year, and that's why I'm the most interested in that route. I think it's their best chance if they got some lottery luck.
Yep.
Too early to say that, and if they're hanging around by the time Hellebuck's back, it won't happen. They'll likely just miss or just get in. So the only way that this combo does become realistic is if by January or whenever Hellebuck is back, this team's really, really out of it.
Yeah, and even in that case where, say, the Jets are like completely out of it by the time Hellebuck is back, they don't manage more than a few wins here and there. There's really not a lot for them to sell off, quote unquote, on the roster. There's not a lot of pending UFAs that have any value to ship out, and we'll get second round picks for nobody's. We don't have a Brandon Tanev to sell off for a second pick, like we like to acquire. So maybe we can sucker somebody into a Luke Shen, but I doubt it. It's one of those things where the guys that are here are probably just going to be here, and we're going to ride it out. Win, lose, or draw.
I think you can get a second or higher for like a Nino or a Vlad.
Nino's got another season right past this one, so if you were willing,
they both do.
You'd have to be. That'd be hard to sell, right? That it's more than just a quick little retool. That if you're dumping Nino, who's been outside of your top line, your most consistent forward, that'd be a tough pill to swallow. I think a little bit in the eyes of, hey, we're still looking to compete right away.
Over on YouTube, at Pomerlane says, but will that high pick have a chance to play right away?
No.
I imagine if they got someone, let's be completely honest here. They have not had a home run swing level prospect that should be there at 19 or 18 years old since Nick Ehlers, and he played at that age. If they got that level of prospect, he's 100% playing. 100%.
Yeah, if they're drafting
the tweeners, not so much.
Yeah, unless they're drafting first overall and getting a absolute bona fide surefire, sets the would drive everyone insane if they tried to send him down. Outside of that, they're sending whoever it is back.
Top 5 they wouldn't. Gilbert Marion asks, anyone watching Jaeger on the Moose, is he going to be a 2C next year? I think I want to watch some more games before I judge, and I'm going to start going to a lot more Moose games now that I'm pretty close to the arena for my living situation. So I'd like to bring some more Moose thoughts and content to the podcast, see where the farm system's at. I think the idea of him being a 2C so far, based on what I've seen, would be really lofty next year. But there's a long season left, and development isn't linear. We'll see where that goes. There's some nice pieces to his game, but a 2C is just a really big jump next year. We'll continue monitoring that as the year goes on, but I do think that's lofty.
Yeah, agreed.
Ryan Thiessen points out, in a buyer's market, expiring pieces like Vladdy, Nyquist, Pearson, etc. can bring a nice return to use in the offseason to make some moves as well. I'm all in on that path. I do think it makes the most sense, but it's going to take a tough stretch here. Oh, you still have my audio?
Yeah, you're just starting to crackle now.
Okay, give me a second.
1 second, everybody.
You keep going.
Right on. So continuing on in the chat, Ryan Thiessen. In a buyer's market, expiring pieces like Vladdy, Nyquist, Pearson, etc. can bring a nice return to use in the offseason to make some moves as a high draft pick. I'm all in. I agree. I wonder if there's going to be a market for a Nyquist and a Pearson, kind of looking at the season that they're having at the moment. So if we can recoup some pieces for that, I'd be 100% in with you as well. Bodie Clegg, if Milic has a really good season for the Moose, is there a point to sign Comrie again or just bring Milic up? Again, good question. Milic, the game we saw the other night, the best game I've seen Milic play. Was I've got to watch a lot of him play last year, especially with the Moose, while I was doing the stats at the games, and that was absolutely incredible. If that's the kind of run we're going to see from Milic as an NHL backup, that'd be fantastic. I think it's a little too early to say he's ready to be a backup after just the one game, but it's something to definitely keep an eye on. And we're just taking a quick technical break while Nick is fixing the mic there on that side. So thank you for bearing with us while we go through that. So jumping over to the Twitch chat, ROR would be Brock Nelson 2.0 for Chevy, just used to leverage another team from Choices TK. That is something I'm a little bit worried about as well. If the Jets go to add somebody in the division, are they going to be getting fair value? Are they going to be used to, like last year where we kind of got played and used for leverage? So that is one thing to definitely keep an eye on. I don't know if Nashville's going to want to help out a division rival like that. So, Big Papa over on Twitch, almost blowing a game to a bottom 5 team isn't real confident building. Yep, can't say I can argue with that one. Again, Choices TK, only one problem. As old as the core is, another year older in their 30s, the cliff is coming sooner rather than later. And yep, that's something we've got to keep an eye on. Either they need to strike while the iron's hot now and and make a deep run, or we've got to get into maybe a little bit of a retool at some point, because you don't want to end up like the Calgary Flames and just have the core aging over and over again. Speaking of the Calgary Flames, Bodie Clegg said they'd much rather have Nazem Kadri as the ad. Calgary's been pretty vocal that they don't want to move Nazem Kadri, that if Kadri wants to stay, which he said that he does, I think, that they're not going to be trading him off, even though they'd be able to get a nicer, a nice piece back and help that, program move along. So I think a lot of teams are probably going to be calling about Kadri, but the Flames have been pretty vocal that they're going to be holding on to that one. All right, moving on. So looking at the schedule coming up, we've got Buffalo on Monday for the next game. That's going to be, again, another one where you almost want to say it's a, maybe not a must win, but a can't lose territory. They need to stack up some of these points here if they have any hope at all of putting together a run before Connor Hellebuck's return. We're probably going to see Comrie again, would be my guess, even though I would like to see Milic get another shot. I think he earned it in that game, and having him play against Buffalo would be a good way to see if that was, adrenaline and maybe a one-off, or if he's legitimately ready and, going to be able to take the reins as an NHL backup one day. That wasn't something I had really considered until you brought it up there, so it's good to hear. All right, so Nik is almost back up. We'll be jumping right back into the show. Give me 1 second here. Excellent. So yeah, Nik will be hopping right back in. Thank you for your patience, everybody. At Bodie Clegg. Oh, here we go. There we go. So at Bodie Clegg, JMO, Mark, Connor, Helly still have 4 to 5 good years easily together. We just need a retool and we would look good again. No, and I agree. I think that, like Nik said, the problem isn't the core. The core is producing your top line, your guys that are signed long term. You're getting the production out of. They've just got to retool the core. They've got the support around them. So if they can get a little bit creative and not get so hampered into, everybody has to be in these such rigid roles, they could be right back into it real quick. It's interesting because we're going to have to wait and see if they're willing to get creative or if we just keep adding veteran after veteran. All right. We should have Nik hopping back in here now. Hey, there's our guy.
Yo, do I sound all right?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Great job, Mikey. Sorry about that, folks. We will get this figured out at some point here. Yeah, great job, Mikey. I agree. I don't think it has to be a full teardown. I think this is something that can be navigated. And it is a depth issue largely. We'll see. That could even be navigated through the rest of this year. We'll see where that goes.
See, the funny thing is when people talk about, tanking and I can't believe, so for number one, we know that players don't tank. The players are never giving up. They're not quitting, all that type of stuff. What we talk about when, quote unquote tanking is the things we've mentioned, right? Selling off a few of the pieces if you can get, a little bit of a return for them. Things where you're like, we're not going to be able to compete in the second half of the year. The Jets core, like you said, is mainly fine. If they can, a down year this year is not a bad thing necessarily. If they can retool a little bit, you can hop right back into it and be competitive. So even in a bad year, even if this one goes totally off the rails, that doesn't mean, you throw everything away. They're still right there. We just got to see if they can be creative with it.
Yeah, that is really the storyline. Is the core has been great. They just got to really take a different approach with everything else.
Yep.
Let's get into the From Financial Face-Off. Why don't we?
Right on. Let's hit it. Right on. And Pomerlane, yep, you nailed it. If it's a retool with young players, the Jets may be fine. But if it's a retool with nothing but more old vets, they'll go nowhere. And that's the question, right? Are they going to continue on with this oldest team in the league and we want nothing but experience? or are they going to try to maybe play with it a little bit? So it'll be interesting to see.
And as Choices TK says, tanking, play Shen over style, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it is
that'll do
tank
it.
approved. But if you're into the chat, let us know what your From Financial Faceoff was in this one. What made the difference in the Jets versus Preds game? Mikey, as usual, we'll start with you. What is your From Financial Faceoff on this night?
Well, I know what the kind of like the main story is for this game, and I'll leave that one. I think maybe that might be where you're going with it. So, for me, what I kind of zoned in on was Nino's revenge game. You can always count on Nino Niederreiter when we're going up against one of his many, many, many former teams to come out and put in a great effort, get on the score sheet. He did it today. First player that's not on the top line to come out and get a goal for the Jets. In what feels like, an extremely long time. So Nino's play just kind of overall today was something that I really enjoyed. And I was real happy that he's the guy that got them off to a real good start with that goal after Scheifele's. So I'm going with the Nino's revenge game.
Over on YouTube, Gilbert Marion's From Financial Faceoff was Connor goal, honorable mention, Perfetti goal. Bodie Clegg says 1,000% the From Financial Faceoff was Shen's great offensive play. Yeah. Big night from the Big Fiver. Ecker says From Financial Faceoff, Nino goal, dagger for Nashville at the end of period, secondary scorer. And yeah, I think the From Financial Faceoff is no secret on this one. After 311 plus minutes of not getting a goal from anyone not named Kyle Connor, Gabe Velarde, or Mark Scheifele, the From Financial Faceoff difference in this one is secondary scoring and getting a goal from each of your top 9 lines. As Ryan Thiessen says, the From Financial Faceoff is Cole Perfetti finally getting one to go. And if you want to get a little bit optimistic about the Winnipeg Jets, Cole Perfetti going on a bit of a heater here might do it. This team, we know the top line scoring. They need some more consistency below it. And I'm not ready to bet on that consistency yet. But a few shows ago, we were talking about in defense of Cole Perfetti and the amount of chances he's been getting, in which I believe Bodie Clegg said on YouTube that it was 7-1 in high danger chances in Cole Perfetti's favor before that one went in. This is why when the chances are coming, you want to keep it going. We talked about how he was running a really unsustainably low PDO, and once one went in, we might see a bit of a shooting bender. If Cole Perfetti is able to become a bit of a consistent offensive player over this stretch, they might be able to make it through. If you want to look at this thing optimistically, there is one spot that things might turn for the better for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep, leave it to Cole to come save the day.
Choices TK's From Financial Faceoff is the schedule getting the worst team in the league right when you need it.
Yep.
And it was a great time to have that team in front of them. And as we know, you can only play the team in front of them, but it was a great time for the Nashville Predators to pop up on the schedule. At Jelly D Bean 204 says the From Financial Faceoff is no one breaking a hip in the Retirement Bowl, and in honor of the football bowl season, I think the NHL was trying to give a bit of a Senior Bowl look here between Barry Trotz's Nashville Predators and Kevin Cheveldayoff's Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
And we saw in the Senior Bowl a couple high collision accidents that sees Vlad Nemeskov leave the game before coming back and having that primary assist on his first shift back. We saw Yossi and Iafallo, I believe it was, also run into each other.
Yep.
The seniors were colliding a little bit out there, like bumper cars at times.
Yep. So I was glad that nobody broke a hip, nobody came away with an injury in this one. That's a plus.
The Sabres just beat the Wild in OT. The Wild continue to stay hot, and the Jets have the Sabres twice in the next 3 games. So that's a team I'm really, really curious to see how this Jets team handles. The Buffalo Sabres are pretty damn inconsistent. You don't know what version of them you're going to get.
Yeah.
But they are a youthful team that can skate. That could give this team some trouble. I'm very curious to see what the Winnipeg versus Buffalo mini series in 2 and 3 nights, or 2 and 3 games looks like for what this current version looks like.
Yeah, it's going to tell us a lot if this was just a one-off against, like we said, the legitimately worst team in the National Hockey League right now, or if this is a corner that's been turned. We'll see.
Ecker says, problem with the Perfetti goal was it was a whiff, and then he hits the post on a goal scorer's shot. He's still in the funk, and he whiffed on, that was his second whiff because he had the heel. The whiff going in, though, leading into the confident goal scorer's shot that nearly goes top corner, I think that's a sign that the funk is over and that he was feeling confident. We'll see if it turns. But I'm on the side that I think with what he's been generating, the frustration level, and then putting it in, and then nearly sniping another one like that, I think we're going to see it turn. I think we're going to see some positive regression from Cole Perfetti offensively. That's the Nik Lynam prediction here. We'll see where it goes.
Yep.
And that could be the difference on this stretch. I'm not writing them off quite yet. I think it's going to be a tough uphill climb, and I wouldn't bet on them. But if you're looking for a spot, that's where it's going to come from.
Hey, wasn't it the St. Louis year that they won the Stanley Cup, where they were last place at a certain point, kind of mid-season, and then stormed all the way through, and ran roughshod in the play? Hey, there you go. It could always happen.
It could. God, that sounds terrible right now. At Kevin K says, Perfetti will be fine. He's young yet. Rest of them, unlikely. And I was having that conversation today. That's what's so frustrating for me is I don't know where you find the upside in this forward group to bet on consistency coming forward. That's where it's tough for me. It's a lot of ham and eggers that are on their back nine.
It's going to have to be Cole Perfetti. That's at the realistic point is that it has to be. If they're going to be a real threat, a real team that wants to, have a deep playoff run, it has to be Cole Perfetti first and foremost that brings the scoring into the middle six. There's no question. He's been playing the right way. The opportunities are all there. Hopefully this means that they're going to start, going in bunches. But yeah, at the end of the day, that is where it has to start. That's the future of their, secondary scoring, and it needs to be now.
Yeah, we will see where that goes. Any other topics around the team that had stood out to you that you want to talk about on the way out here?
Not off the top of my head, but if anybody would like to call in, of course, phone lines are open, 1-204-800-0409. You can call, get on the line, and let us know what you're thinking.
So the schedule ahead here as we leave November, Monday, December 1st on Prime, we got a 6:30 game versus Buffalo. How are we feeling? Actually, let's just put it this way. Next week, they got Edmonton at 9 p.m. on the back-to-back. So the 3 games prior, they got Buffalo in Buffalo, they got Montreal in Montreal, and then they're back in Winnipeg on Friday. Do I have that right? Am I looking at this right, or do I have this backwards? I might have it backwards.
So we've got
Anyways,
Monday
2 Buffalo games.
Yep, Wednesday in Montreal, and then Friday, back home against Buffalo.
How are we feeling about this stretch for the Jets? What does this next 3 games look like? And what's the standard you'd like to see to start believing that they've turned a corner? What would you like to see from here?
At bare minimum, they need to win both Buffalo games, and the Montreal game needs to be competitive. That's what it has to be right now. They need at least, and honestly, they need at least a point in all 3 games. That's if we're talking playoffs, if we are talking, the standard is getting into the playoffs and winning around, like not just, sneak in and get swept in 4 or, they were close and then eventually fell on the outside. If we're going to say that's what the standard is, because that's what they're telling us, then they need points in all 3 of those games, and at least 2 of them need to be out-and-out wins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah, I want to see 2 of the next 3 games as wins for a 3 wins in 4 nights. It's the kind of spot in the schedule you're going to have to make up. Heading into tonight, the Winnipeg Jets had the 11th hardest schedule the rest of the season. It was the 4th hardest in the West the rest of the way. We know that the schedule was a bit soft for them early on. A spot like this is a spot where I think with the climb that they're going to have to make, with knowing that Connor Hellebuyck still isn't walking through that door anytime soon, that's a spot where if they want to keep around this and they want to stay serious, I do think that they got to get 2 out of those 3 games and leave this segment of 4 with 3 of 4. If they can get 3 points, it probably keeps them hanging around rather than taking a step, and maybe that's good enough right now. But yeah, I think at the minimum you're shooting for 4 points in the next 3 games here.
Totally agree.
At Ryan Thiessen says, if a retool is the way the Jets end up going, do we trust Chevy to make the right moves after he's done the past 18 months? Quite the interesting question, because the past 18 months have been really, really rough, and they came off the heels of 3 really, really good years. Do
you think
I could see both sides of that? I could see both sides of that conversation.
Do you think the heavy turn towards age and quote unquote experience and veterans in the last, year or two, do you think that's maybe a little bit of kind of leftover trauma from the end of the Maurice Blake Wheeler days of having a kind of tumultuous locker room? And
I think we overthink this one a little bit, actually.
How do you think we kind of ended up in this spot then? I'm curious because I don't really know. Like, I've just been trying to rack my brain on how we ended up all of a sudden the oldest team in the league, and a place set up for a retirement home.
And honestly, I think it's a very obvious answer, and it's the fact that over the last 3 regular seasons, they've won more games than any other team, and they won the President's Trophy last year and wanted to take another competitive step, so they talked themselves into veterans that they could rely on, which hasn't quite gone their way. But that's, I guess, the line of thinking they would have went down is we're right there, and I think that's where they got it wrong. We've talked about that since the summer.
Yep.
But that's where they would have arrived at, is they're convincing themselves that this team has been a lot better than it is. And it's another reason why I do think I'm comfortable with the non-Hellebuck stretch going so poorly as a bit of a message of what really needs to be done in this market. For so long, he's covered up so much of what they've done that they've gone away with having less talent than most teams that have gone to the places. Have they really gone anywhere other than the second round? I believe that's what it is when it comes down to it. I think it's just that easy.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Thank you. As
Gilbert Marion says, Chevy thought he needed experience for the playoffs, and it might make him not make the playoffs.
Yep.
Kevin K says, I just want 3 games in a row where they don't let their foot off the gas for 60 minutes. That seems like an awfully lofty ask right now.
At the moment, yeah.
But
that would be great, though. That would be that. Yeah, I would feel a lot better if that was the case. If we get to the end of this week and they played 3 full 60-minute solid games, I'd feel a lot better.
Yeah, I'd love to be changing the tempo with that kind of conversation.
Yep.
Let's get into the 3 stars and get out of here on this night.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Who are your 3 stars from the Jets versus Predators tonight, Mikey?
Right on. So for my 3rd star in net, Eric Comrie. He had some real big saves tonight. He kept the Jets in it a few different times. We've talked about it. He's not Connor Hellebuck. He's not going to be able to steal games and cover up all of the warts, but he gives you a good effort every single time he's between the pipes. And I really liked the bounce back for him and the fact they gave him a little bit of run support. So Eric Comrie gets my 3rd star. Number 2, in his revenge game, Nino Niederreiter. He's kind of been the only secondary scoring the Jets have seen for most of the season, and he was able to break that the long drought that they had going. So I'm going to go with Nino there. And then number 1, getting the monkey off his back. He's been playing well in all of these games. Finally gets one to cross the goddamn line. Cole Perfetti, number 1 star. If the Jets are going to have a resurgence in that middle 6, it's got to start with number 91.
Yeah, on this night, Gilbert Marion's 3 stars are Nino, Scheifele, Perfetti. I'm going to go 3rd star, probably the most generous star I've handed out, but we got to roll with we're going to pretend like most of the game didn't happen here. 2 primary assists for Luke Shen. stepping into a top 4 spot. Don't want to see it again. We're going to see it again. But he's going to take home the 3rd star tonight. Very generous.
Very.
Second star gets the monkey off his back. Nearly adds a 2nd on a great shot. Cole Perfetti. And we're going to keep it going with the secondary scoring on this one. Nino Niederreiter breaks the 5+ game stretch without a goal from the top line. He finishes this one off with the empty netter. One of the dozen teams he used to play for, Nino Niederreiter, you're going to be the 1st star on this night. And as we leave here, Eckers says Sandberg 3rd, Nino 2nd, Barry Trotz 1st for putting together a worse team than Chevy. And Sugar Hill Sleep says, kind of sad, Perfetti doesn't have a bona fide second-line teammate. Not much he can do. And ain't that the truth? And you're going to see the inconsistencies continue until this or goes out and gets some help, or they're willing to split up the top line to pair on a second line. But we'll see where it goes. I expect the same lineup on Monday for the Buffalo Sabres game, 6:30 on Prime. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you on Monday after the Jets play the Buffalo Sabres on Prime.
Right on. Good night, everybody.